In Utah, we have different types of deer hunting opportunities, and we really try to have something for everyone. If a hunter is really into older age class bucks, really high success rates, we've got our premium limited entry and limited entry units. Our limited entry units are managed for 25 or more bucks per 100 does. For folks that are more interested in just getting out and hunting on a more regular basis, more often, and they're maybe more concerned about that opportunity to get out and hunt, we have our general season units. Our general season units we manage for anywhere between 15 and 20 bucks per 100 does. Units with lower buck to doe ratios typically have a little bit lower success rate and not as many older age class or not as many bucks in general that are available in the population. Whereas our limited entry units, you're going to see a higher proportion of bucks, more bucks, and older age class animals in the population. The buck to doe ratio is a measure of how many bucks we have per 100 does on our units, and we do that classification after the hunts are over. Our biologists are out on the winter range typically during the mule deer rut, and they classify as many deer as they can find on those units, and that gives us a measure, which is our buck to doe ratio. If we manage units for 15 to 17 bucks per 100 does, we're going to be able to issue a lot more permits. Folks are going to be able to hunt a lot more often. If we manage units for 25 to 35 bucks per 100 does, we're going to have to issue a lot fewer permits, and folks are only going to be able to hunt those units on more rare occasion. Sportsmen, they care so much about deer, and they tell us, oh, if you'll just cut buck tags, this deer herd will rebound or your population will grow again. And it's just not that simple.
The first restrictions 150 years ago, the very first game laws that were ever on the books in North America, were those game laws restricting the killing of does. And that's because they knew that they could still kill bucks and still use those resources and still have that population grow unfettered, because all of those does were still getting pregnant. So in a deer management scheme, even if you have buck to doe ratios as wide as 10 bucks per 100 does, all of those does are still getting pregnant. So changing management so that you now have 20 bucks per 100 does, you still have all the does becoming pregnant. You haven't gained anything, but you've lost some opportunity for hunters.
Even on the upper end on our limited entry units, if we have resource limitations, if there's only a certain amount of habitat available, carrying a lot of bucks in the population can actually hurt population recruitment and growth, because those bucks are competing with does and fawns for limited resources. There are a lot of factors that affect deer population growth. Bucks really isn't one of them. What does drive deer populations are long-term drought. That's one we've been dealing with for the last few years, and that can have a really negative impact on wildlife when there's just not a lot of feed available to them. So if they can get good nutrition, they're going to have higher reproductive rates, higher survival rates, and we can grow deer. On some units, predation has been a limiting factor, and we're seeing that we have deer that are in great body condition, but we have high mortality rate of adults because they're being killed by mountain lions. If we have a really severe winter, we might lose fawns or even lose adult animals in really extreme cases. And that's the type of thing that can drive deer populations.
For the last 17 years, I've chaired the Mule Deer Working Group, which is sponsored by the Western Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies. And that working group has 24 experts from all of the Western North American agencies in Canada and the U.S. And we get together twice a year and we talk about issues that are affecting mule deer and black-tailed deer conservation throughout North America. We put together a lot of work to help managers on the ground put some of the science that's in the scientific literature really to use on the ground to benefit mule deer. And it's that collaboration that really cements a good science being applied over a broad distribution of mule deer throughout their range and help improving mule deer populations on the ground.
In the Division of Wildlife, we're managing this resource for the public. Our first priority is to manage it in a sustainable way where the resource is going to persist into the future. And then after that, within those sideboards, there's actually a lot of ways to manage wildlife. We have management plans where we talk about those trade-offs and make those decisions as far as which units we're going to manage which way. And those management plans go around the entire state to the regional advisory council meetings, and we take a lot of public input. We want to manage the resource in the way that's going to benefit the public and the way the public wants us to. Mule deer are very important to the citizens of the state of Utah and to the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources, but they're really a treasure across the West, and there's a lot of folks that are passionate and that have a lot of resources. And when we join forces to try to do good things for mule deer, it's really amazing what we can accomplish and how much we can help each other.